Good morning, everybody. MG here. MG Covers bringing you a brand new sports handicapping video. Title of this video, How I Accidentally Discovered a Major League Baseball Totals Model. Super fascinating video, super educational. If you followed me on Instagram yesterday, you heard a lot of buzz about this, so I'm going to break this down, how I actually discovered this model, how it can help you in your handicapping or if you're building models. As always, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, greatly appreciate you subscribing to the channel. A lot of growth here in the last couple weeks, so if you're watching this video for the first time, subscribe to the channel. As you know, that helps the channel grow. And if you're a long-time looker, haven't subscribed, greatly appreciate you subscribing right now, clicking that subscribe button. This video is sponsored by Betonline. It's probably the best offshore book in the business. They have a really solid reputation, been around for 25 years, very fast payouts, very good bonus structure right now. You can get 50% welcome bonus, which means you deposit $200, they'll give you $100 free, or deposit $1,000, give you $500, and it's a 10 times rollover, which is not too bad, pretty good. Okay, so let's dive into this Major League Baseball totals model, and I have to give you some context, and we have to sort of back up a little bit here. So when I first started the season, as you know, I have struggled a lot the last couple of years with Major League Baseball. It's just a different sport. In my opinion, it is the most difficult sport to handicap. Basketball, baseball, football, I would even say soccer, more difficult to handicap than soccer. Now, so beginning of the year, had a lot of success, and then stumbled a little bit. And one of the mistakes, I wouldn't say mistake, but I was having a difficult time trying to figure out starting pitching, how to factor that into the line. So what I did was I finally figured it out. So we had hitting, we had bullpen factored into the line, but I needed to figure out a way to put starting pitching into my model. Now, the way I did it was sort of a separate calculation, which is what I've done here. So what I did was create a very simple but effective way to calculate a projected run total for starting pitcher, and I just named it the F5 line. It wasn't really, some pitchers will pitch 5 innings, some 6. I think average is around 5 innings pitched for a starting pitcher. And I just to make it simple, I just called it an F5 line, even though that really wasn't what it was. It was just basically the starting pitching line. So now I had everything covered. I have hitting covered, I have starting pitching covered, I have relief pitching. If you follow me for any length of time, this is generally the trigger point. For example, yesterday we had huge value here with Pittsburgh. The X means they are, quote, the team with value. We were projecting them to be winning 4-2 after F5. They ended up losing. Scroll down here to Houston, Miami. We had 5 runs projected for Houston, and for Miami we had 2, and then in Detroit here. We had Minnesota projected for 3, Detroit only for 1. I actually ended up playing Detroit. Reason being is we were getting great dog money there, irregardless. So I ended up playing that one. So this was what it looked like from yesterday. So I'm using this as a trigger point, meaning like if we have an edge here, we already know we have an edge, Pittsburgh -103, so we have a bullpen edge, and then this sort of takes us over the top in our trigger point. So if we know we have a pitching advantage, then hey, we've got an advantage in all 3 aspects: hitting, pitching, and starting pitching. Now, what's the irony in all this is that I realized that if we had a high number of runs projected to score in the F5 line, more times than not, that game was going to go over the total. So when I did some research on this, and this was crazy because yesterday I had, I'll come back to clients here in a second, but let me finish this point. So what I realized was if we had a large number of runs projected to score in the F5 line, that game was probably going to go over depending on what the line was. Now, one thing you have to do if you're going to handicap totals, I learned this from a mentor, you have to figure out the average number of runs scored in a baseball game, current data. And it's actually 9.5, even though year to date it's gone down to 9. That's an important number to know. So average number of runs scored is around 9.5 in a Major League Baseball game. It's the same deal if you're handicapping totals for NFL. The first step, number one, is you have to figure out what are the average number of points scored in an NFL. You have to get the median. That's very important because everything will regress to that number. Always regressing to the mean or the average. And I made a number of videos about that as well. But we're not going to talk about that in this video. But just know the average number of runs scored in Major League Baseball games is 9.5. So therefore, if we're projecting a game to go over and we're getting less than 9.5, that means we have, quote, value, because everything regresses to the mean, the 9.5. If there's a game total, say 7.5, and we're projecting it to go over, then we're getting value. Now, the trigger point for playing the over is if we have a total, and this is just something I observed here in the last month or so. If we have runs totaling 6 or more runs via my F5 line, then it would be a play on the over contingent upon us getting a totals line of 9 or less. Because we don't want to play 9.5, because in order to win the 9.5 wager, how many runs do we have to score? We have to score 10. See the difference? That's why that half point is crucial. So I'll explain that again. So anytime we have a totals line, an F5 line of 6 or more runs via my line, and the totals line at the book is 9 or less, it would be a, quote, play on the overs. And this thing has had phenomenal success. I didn't realize it when I posted this on Instagram yesterday. I got, a dozen emails from clients. I had most of those clients were already playing totals this way, which I had no idea. And I'd mentioned this a month ago when I created this starting pitching module here to calculate. I didn't realize people were using it for totals because I'd mentioned, hey, I'm looking and seeing that this has been very effective for playing over. So we'll break down. Let's look at this Pittsburgh Mets game. So you can see here we projected the F5 line to have 6 runs scored in the first 5 innings. Now, we can assume that if there's 6 runs scored and our totals line you can see here was 9, and some books had it at 8.5 depending on the book, but most of them had it at 9. So that means we push at a 9, and anything over that would be a win. And let's pull up the box score. Let's see if I can do that. Will it show it like this? Plays. No. Game info. Maybe this is on here. There we go. And you could see, sure enough, look at the F5 line. They scored 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. They scored 8. So they only needed 2 more runs, and they got that in the 6th and the 7th. And obviously it was the Mets here, but still it cashed. Okay? So just to sort of review, anytime we see 6 or more on the F5 line. Now, let's go down here and look at the Houston one. Houston was projected to score 5 runs. Miami was projected to score 2 runs on the F5 line. And they scored 17 total. Now check that out. That's ironic that Houston scored 5 in the first. Miami scored 2. And then let's take a look at the totals. And this was crazy, and we'll talk about this a little bit. Look at the totals line. It was 8, and I think most books had it at 7.5. Why? You had Verlander on the mound. You had Miami had their really good pitcher on the mound as well. So perception was this is going to be a low-scoring game. However, this is so important. This is why you have to have a model to succeed in this business, because how do you know if that 7.5 or 8 is a good line? But it was a terrible line. Terrible line. And that's evident by, you're looking at my totals line there. So the totals line basically hit, I think, in the, what inning was that? Well, they scored 7. I think the next inning, second inning, they ended up cashing there. So, and that's generally when you see it, because in Major League Baseball, and I've talked about this numerous times, starting pitching's way overvalued. You have a historically good pitcher like Verlander, he's going to be overvalued whether he's in good form or not. And even if a pitcher is in, let's say he is pitching well, the line, too much of the starting pitching is factored into the line, meaning they overvalue the starting pitching, undervalue relief pitching, and they undervalue hitting. Now let's talk about concept number 2. When I got a lot of those emails from clients, the first thing clients said was, why don't we run the F5 lines for all the games? Let's run them for all the games. Here's why that's a mistake. In this business, once you find something that works, you do not alter it and you do not change it. You do not add to it. You do not delete from it. When do you change something in this business with regards to models? When it's not working. So I had numerous emails. Why don't we try to handicap the unders? Nope, because what we're doing is working. And again, I'm going to make that point again because this is a huge mistake I see people make. Once you find something that works, you do not alter it. You do not alter it any way, shape, form. You don't add to it. You don't delete to it. And another point to make is the reason this is successful is that these marked with the X are generally good hitting teams. That's why we have them as potential plays. Philadelphia with the win yesterday. So, in essence, we're factoring starting pitching. And if we have a 6 here, that means, hey, this is probably going to go over. And we have a good hitting team. And boom, it goes over. So this is how I basically accidentally created a totals model. And I had, again, numerous clients email me yesterday. I didn't realize a lot of people were already playing it this way. So I'm sort of late to the dance with this as well. So a couple of key takeaways. If you're building models, always be perceptive and open if you're seeing things. Meaning, like, right when I created this totals model, the F5 line, I noticed that this was happening. And I'm probably late sort of making this official, so to speak, because I'm going to probably start playing. I hadn't officially played any of these totals, but I had, again, numerous clients do it. So when you're building a model, is there something you see that you could potentially profit from, right? And that could be a statistical property. For example, in NFL last year, unders were cashing like crazy. Defenses were playing cover 2 man, made it very difficult for teams to score. Took them a long time to score. Boom, unders were cashing. And maybe you could set your model up to profit from that. So always be perceptive to what's happening in the sport and be perceptive to what's happening in your model. If you get something that works, you do not change it. You leave it as is, and the only time you change a model is when it doesn't work. So I hope this video helps, and super excited to see where we go, and I'll start playing some of these totals as well. If you want access to this totals model or the Major League Baseball model as well as soccer, and we have football starting up next month, click the link in the description box. You can sign up $49 a month. It's crazy value. You get access to all my lines for all sports every single day, as well as all my coaching videos. We release a new coaching video every single week, in addition to the 150 coaching videos that are on the site already. If you want access to all my plays, you get everything I just mentioned, in addition to all my plays for $100 per month. And again, the best value, a lot of clients take advantage of this. Instead of paying $100 a month, which will be $1,200 a year, you can sign up for $499 and get access to everything on the entire site for $500 for 1 year. So greatly appreciate you watching this video. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.